It was on the 17th of November 1558 that a Queen of England, who has gone down in her history books in infamy, died inside of one of her palaces. Bloody Mary, or Mary I, was known for the large-scale burnings of Protestants that were ordered all across of England, and she gained a fearsome reputation because of this. She was the eldest child of Henry VIII, and succeeded onto the throne following Lady Jane Grey's brief flirtation with the crown. Mary ordered the teenage 9-day Queen's execution. But throughout her life, she suffered with many different health conditions and issues, which led to her death at the age of 42. Following her death, Mary I was embalmed and her organs were removed. But what did the Tudor Queen die from, and what did investigations into her death show? In 1552, Mary I wrote to her half-brother, Edward VI Council, and claimed that "my heart is more unstable than that of any creature, and I have all the greater need to rejoice in the testimony of a pure conscience." She may have believed that her death was soon coming, but during her life she was a very ill lady. She had to deal with a lot of stress, and this was not helped with her father, Henry VIII's treatment of her mother, Catherine of Aragon, his first wife. Catherine suffered following the king's separation from her in favour of his second wife, Anne Boleyn, and she was virtually held under house arrest, and with this she was never allowed to see Mary, her daughter, again. And this caused the pair a lot of heartbreak. She was a thin and frail princess, and she also could not see too well, but Mary had her father's temper, and she suffered from bouts of smallpox, a deadly disease which caused chaos during the Tudor period. But throughout her teenage years, she had constant problems with her head and her stomach, and she was also very sick. And she could not keep food down, and doctors even diagnosed Mary with strangulation of the womb. She had menstrual issues, depression, and problems with breathing, as well as swellings around her abdomen. She also suffered with fainting, vomiting, and nausea, as well as a lack of appetite, and the stress of being removed also out of the line of succession would not have helped the young princess. She was held practically herself also under house arrest when she was removed from the line of succession, and was treated poorly. Also, she was not allowed to refer to herself as a princess. She was even threatened with execution if she referred to her mother as the Queen. Anne Boleyn herself was not a fan of Mary, but when she was 19, she became very sick. She was tended to by Lady Shelton and was treated roughly, and she had terrible headaches and stomach cramps again, and an apothecary was brought in to administer some pills, and this left her even sicker and fighting for her life as her body entered a state of shock. But Lady Shelton thought for this that she would lose her head if Mary died, as she would have been responsible for the death of the king's eldest daughter. Some royal doctors and physicians were even hesitant to treat Mary at the time, in case she died under their care, as they did not want to risk execution for offending Henry VIII. Thomas Cromwell, the king's chief adviser, sent his own personal doctor to treat her, and he claimed that she was treatable and curable, but it was claimed that the treatment of her and her house arrest was making her sicker. But her father did not relent, and this time it was beyond everyone's belief and imagination that Mary would one day become the Queen of England. There was no pattern to her sickness, and the doctors found her problems were very unpredictable. She continued to have issues with her health, and also developed bad toothache, which led to her teeth being pulled out. She did reconcile with her father, but Mary then, in the winter of 1537, was very sick, to the point where she could not stand up, as she also suffered with heart palpitations, and it took her a long while to get better. But she did. She accompanied her father and his sixth wife on their honeymoon, but had to depart from this celebration as she was sick again, and in 1547 she got even more depressed and suffered with much more severe fevers. Following the deposing of Lady Jane Grey, Mary did become queen. It was a departure to the belief that many had that she would never become queen, and she had spent her brother Edward VI's reign concerned that she would be executed or imprisoned for being a Catholic. Mary also throughout her reign continued to display health issues, and following her marriage to Philip of Spain in July of 1547, there was a lot of concern about the influence of her husband being Spanish over England. Mary, at the age of 37, then announced that she believed she was pregnant, and she did enter confinement in Hampton Court to await the arrival of her baby. But this was in vain, as no baby or child would ever come. What Mary was suffering with was significant swellings on her stomach, which came up and then went down, and many who waited on her and served her at this time said she clearly looked ill and very pale. The phantom pregnancies suffered by the Queen caused her further upset and depression, and she could not sleep, and she looked much older than she actually was because of the amount of stress she had been under throughout her life. But some again thought that she was pregnant as her stomach swelled up, but there was no baby. In the January of 1558, England was suffering as a significant famine struck the nation, and the weather ruined the harvest and many people starved. This also did not help with an outbreak of flu rampaging throughout England, and it was killing people at the same rate that the Black Death was. This was a significant problem as the disease was causing people to be ill for a long time before they then died from their fate. In the summer of 1558, Mary I had a low fever and dropsy, and to those inside the royal circles it was clear that the Queen did not have long left to live. Her headaches came back in the September of 57, and her fevers rose incredibly high, and she almost lost her sight. The final fever she suffered from was very severe, and had made her will in the weeks before, and she named Elizabeth, her half-sister, as her successor through gritted teeth. She was abandoned by many members of her household staff, and Mary on her deathbed claimed that she saw angels appearing in front of her. Early in the morning of the 17th of November 1558, Mary I died. It is obvious that throughout her life she had suffered with many different conditions, but she had managed to somehow get over them. But in her final years, many severe symptoms, such as the swellings in her stomach, could have been signs as to what her actual cause of death was. It was known that she had problems with menstruation and with pains in this region, and some doctors have claimed that throughout her life she suffered with ovarian dropsy. This is a condition where cysts form on the ovaries, and these cause abdominal swellings and severe pains. But it's also believed that Mary could have had cancerous tumours, and that she died from ovarian cancer or some form of stomach cancer. This would allude to the swellings that she had. Also, Mary would have been ill for some time with the disease, and problem meaning that it would explain her long suffering. But Mary I was a queen who reigned for around 5 years. She is remembered as possibly the most notorious and ruthless queen that England had ever had, and she was a woman who brutally punished Protestants, and this led to her being known as Bloody Mary I. And although this nickname is considered unfair, today when compared with the reign of her father Henry VIII, Mary's impact on history is one which is severe. She is overshadowed also by the reign of her more successful half-sister Elizabeth, but she suffered throughout her life, and her final illness was one which was terrible for her. Thank you for watching, and to support, please subscribe to Her Remarkable History. Thank you.